Motion with no legislative effect. Members who wish to speak, please press the Request to Speak button. This council will debate on Dr. Hoey Simon Lee's motion on exploring collaborative legislation in the Guangdong-Hong Kong-Macao Greater Bay Area. 8 members will move amendments to the motion. This council will proceed to a joint debate on the motion and the amendments. I will first call upon Dr. Hoey Simon Lee to speak and move the motion. Then I'll call upon Mr. Yingpeng, Mr. Duncan Chiu, Dr. Thomas So, Mr. Andrew Yao, Ms. Maggie Chan, Mr. Peter Xu, Professor Priscilla LEUNG, and Professor Michael I to speak in sequence, but they may not move the amendments at this stage. The joint debate now begins. I now call upon Dr. Hoey Simon Lee to speak and move the motion. Dr. Hoey Simon Lee. Thank you, President. I move that the motion as printed on the agenda be passed. To facilitate the integrated development of the Greater Bay Area, I believe that under one country, two systems, we should achieve alignment of rules and mechanisms. Drawing from the experience of Hong Kong and Macau after the reunification, I see that there are commonalities in socio-economic matters and that there is basis for collaborative legislation among the 3 places. What is collaborative legislation? 2 or more legislative or legal jurisdictions work together to resolve any cross-regional or cross-territorial issues. And the places can come up with common rules and mechanisms. It is a legal process. Collaborative legislation does not mean making laws together among different places or helping other jurisdictions to make laws. Instead, under consensus, each place makes their own laws, but they move towards the same direction under common consensus to resolve issues that are faced by all these places. They do not strive to achieve unification in terms of their laws. We need to pick the better standards, and that's the core competitiveness of the GBA. We should first break barriers of mechanisms or rules in order to resolve high costs as well as the difficulties in achieving integration. Soft connectivity refers to integration of rules and mechanisms, and that's the basic way to remove barriers. In order to achieve synergy, we have to ensure that there are laws and that there are environments with rule of law. We have to protect IP as well as transform rules and regulations. And these will facilitate cross-boundary financing as well as mutual recognition. It is only by removing the relevant barriers that we can stimulate creativity and innovation, and then we can transform our advantages into competitiveness. Since the reform and opening up, we've been seeing synergies. For example, Yangtze River Delta saw reform, and also with the construction of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge and cross-boundary access, and also with cross-boundary and Wealth Connect scheme, we saw the signing of Memorandum of Understanding to achieve alignment of rules and regulations. All these successful cases show us that we should not achieve perfect unification in terms of our laws and papers. Instead, we need to deepen consensus and alignment. That way, we'll be able to transform policy and experiences into institutions. This is not something new or fresh. The New York Bay Area as well as California Bay Area, in order to ensure better environmental protection, they have achieved laws that are binding. For example, the New Jersey Authority helped establish a cross-continental or cross-provincial rule. And in the European Union, we see success cases as well. The European countries saw different rules and regulations. However, the EU helps coordinate different countries to enact laws. To protect data security, the EU helps break the relevant barriers and build a common data privacy rules. And 27 EU member states saw free flow of data, which help achieve digital economy. And we see that World Bay Areas saw the removal of barriers to achieve alignment. In the mainland, for example, in Yangtze River Delta, in one of the integrated demonstration zones in Shanghai, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, targeting the demonstration zone, they made their own laws. In 2020, the 3 places I mentioned, they enacted laws to build a integrated development demonstration zone. And this is the first example in mainland China that see alignment of rules and regulations to ensure ecological protection and conservation. And Tianjin, Beijing, and Hebei also enacted laws to prevent and control pollution and to reduce emission. And this shows that a unified standards can help ensure the sharing of information. These successful cases in the mainland show that we are not trying to eliminate differences or discrepancies. Instead, for common interests and through legal means, we can build a coordination mechanism. For the Greater Bay Area, we can adopt the following. First, for more complicated territories, through coordination among the 3 governments and through MOUs as well as collaborative legislation, we can explore alignment. For example, in terms of cross-boundary sharing of data, the 3 places can explore collaborative legislation to ensure data security and to ensure privacy. Second, we have to formulate a coordination mechanism. For example, we can achieve a normalized sharing mechanism among the 3 places. We can make use of a GBA development leading group to come up with this mechanism. This can be a major reform for sharing of information, and through legislation, we can recognize each other's standards. Third, we should make use of the legislative power of the 3 places. Hong Kong and Macau can make use of the legislative powers as SARs to enact laws, and this is to provide conditions for common rules and aligned regulations. In Guangdong, they can also explore making laws. Guangdong, as well as the 9 GBA cities, can make use of their powers, as well as make use of their cooperation zones to strengthen alignment of rules with the SARs. This will show the function of the testing field of the economic zone as well as the cooperation zone. I now would pass the floor to other members. I hope you will support the motion. Thank you.
Dr. Yingpeng, I now propose the question to you that the motion moved by Dr. Simon Lee be passed. Mr. Yingpeng. I thank Dr. Simon Lee for moving this important motion. The defining feature of the Greater Bay Area is 1 country, 2 systems, 3 jurisdictions, 3 tax systems, and 3 currencies. Now, for the free movement of factors of production, there are institutional barriers that arise as a result. We need the rule of law. But then inconsistencies in legal systems cause business uncertainty. We have to align everything so that we remove the factors holding back the free flow of people, goods, capital, and information. And that's how we establish a legal environment conducive to such a free flow, and then that's how we can foster an integrated market. So convergence and consistency across systems is important. Collaborative legislation is the most effective way to achieve that goal. That's why I support Dr. Simon Lee's motion. We should fostered legislation in each jurisdiction within their respective areas. The Yangtze River Delta has made solid progress in collaborative legislation. There was collaboration on environmental matters. On the 1st of September 2025, there was a decision on fostering scientific and technological research that was trialed in Shanghai, in Suzhou, and other cities of the area. And that was a legal decision. That was a monument in the scientific and research development of the Yangtze River Delta. We can learn from that. At the same time, we have to be clear about the differences between the different cities of the Greater Bay Area in terms of their legal institutions. That means we cannot just replicate everything in the Yangtze River Delta where the same system, the same institutions apply. So we have to stick to one country, two systems, the constitution and the basic law. We have to fully respect the different jurisdictions in the GBA as we foster the integration of different institutions. So our direction should first focus on the laws on trade and commerce, and we should leave out the core areas of politics, criminal law, and political systems. Collaborative legislation is not about aligning everything across the GBA cities. This is more about leveraging our strength to serve our country's need. We want to leverage the market. We want to complement each other to achieve integrated development. We have success stories in the past about collaborative legislation, so we have the reciprocal enforcement of court judgment. Within the framework of Article 95 of the Basic Law, the Mainland and Hong Kong signed regional-level judicial mutual assistance agreements, and then each jurisdiction went through its own legislative process for local legislation. On the Mainland, the Supreme People's Court issues interpretations. In Hong Kong, the Legislative Council enacts laws. In the end, we achieved effective implementation or convergence. So this area warrants further studies by the GBA governments to foster integration and create this integrated market. I support the motion. I hope members will support my amendment. Mr. Duncan Chiu. Before I speak, I declare an interest. I'm an executive vice president of a collaborative organization of the GBA. I'm also a representative with the trade office of the Hengqin office. I have been involved in the deep integration of the Greater Bay Area. I'm also involved in business-related activities within the GBA. I can see the potential. We have a great legal and financial system. We have a wide pool of talent. In Shenzhen, businesses are doing well. Different cities in Guangdong province have their own strengths. If we can complement each other, we have what it takes to be the most competitive in innovation base, and we can be a regional growth hub. We have one country, two systems. We have to respect the different legal institutions and currencies in the GBA, while we also want a high degree of connectivity. This is a challenge, and we cannot find any precedent elsewhere in the world to learn from. Dr. Simon Lee brought up European examples. Our situation, however, is unique. My amendment is focused on fostering the free flow of people, capital, data, etc. These factors underpin our strength. Achieving the connectivity in these areas will take us to the next level. We need to lay down key performance indicators to achieve mutually beneficial outcomes. In my experience in fostering the GBA, I've seen silos, inconsistencies in institutions. So we end up with a green light at the top, but barriers at the ground level. We have to change our mindset. We have to go beyond just grand principles. Otherwise, grand designs cannot be implemented. So we should start with trials. We should start by working on smaller things. We have to focus on the practice. Fostering collaborative legislation is a key task. On fostering the flow of people within the GBA, we should work on vocational qualifications, the flow of talent, so that qualified professionals can travel between Hong Kong and the mainland, and that can drive industrial and technological innovation. For capital, we need oversight. We have to keep risks management manageable, and then we can have more financial services that can go on to support our small and medium enterprises. Hong Kong should leverage its strength to further serve as a gateway of international capital, so that the mainland businesses can go global with Hong Kong partners. The new Guangdong port will open soon, and that port will become more efficient and offer hassle-free experience. Fly via Zhuhai, Hong Kong can help us achieve collaboration with the mainland. In the future, new CHIU development area, where we will see a new modern logistics cluster, we should find ways to work with mainland cities to optimize logistics between Hong Kong and the mainland. On data, we already have the standard contract for the GBA, so the next step is looking at ways to enhance the mechanism. We should expand the scope of the standard contract so that more firms with the data can apply to be part of the scheme. And indeed, there's something we can explore for collaborative legislation. The GBA is not about a zero-sum game, it's about collaboration. Hong Kong needs to work with the rest of the GBA. The GBA also needs Hong Kong. Many Hong Kong residents live in the rest of the GBA. Many Hong Kong firms benefit from policies from the GBA. And that shows Hong Kong's prosperity is closely linked to the rest of the GBA. Hong Kong can become a testing ground for new policies. We can raise the competitiveness of the GBA as a whole. And this is also the best way to put into practice our institutional strengths in one country, two systems. We have to overcome institutional barriers. We have to foster the flow, cross-boundary flow of people, data, capital, and information. As so submit, I hope members will support my amendment. Dr. Thomas So. I support Dr. Simon Lee's motion. The National 15th Five-Year Plan expressly expresses support for Hong Kong's role as a driving force in consolidating and enhancing the GBA development. The GBA involves one country, two systems, and three jurisdictions. Real integration of institutions and laws requires more than just legislation at a local level. We need collaboration. On studying collaborative legislation, my amendment proposes 2 points. First, we should study ways to deepen the existing intergovernmental exchange mechanisms so that we create a mechanism for such work. There are many joint meeting mechanisms between Guangdong and Macau. They talk to each other regularly on different areas. Our Department of Justice has had joint legal meetings with their colleagues from Guangdong and Macau since 2019 about legal and dispute resolution services. This mechanism involves just one meeting per year. For collaborative legislation, the HKSCL government should actively consider talking to the Guangdong and Macau authorities. On the basis of the joint legal meetings, we should create a mechanism specifically on collaborative legislation. There should be regular exchanges about collaborative legislation and convergence in institutions so that we can work closely together on this. For the dedicated legislation for the Northern Metropolis, we should take that as a pilot for collaborative legislation. There are 4 major collaboration platforms in the Greater Bay Area. One of them is the Hetao Hong Kong Park in the Loop. The Hetao Hong Kong Park is a key part going in tandem with our country's development. This is itself a great example of collaborative legislation. The Shenzhen side launched their own plan, and then the ITIB of Hong Kong also released an outline development plan. The Shenzhen Park released their own regulation for their park. Hong Kong will also roll out its dedicated legislation on the Northern Metropolis. So the Hetao Hong Kong Park, which is inside the NM, already shows interaction between Hong Kong and the mainland in legislation. Since the legislative work for the Northern Metropolis is so closely linked to that on the Shenzhen side, my amendment suggests taking the Northern Metropolis's legislation as a pilot on collaboration over legislation. We have 7 land control points, and we are also looking at finding ways to make it easier for people, capital, goods, and data to flow between the mainland and Hong Kong. Let's take that as a basis to build experience for future collaborative legislation. Collaborative legislation is a crucial step in GBA integration. I hope members will support my amendment so that we can jointly foster collaborative legislation in the GBA and we further enhance the rule of law in the GBA.
Mr. Andrew Yao, I thank Dr. Hoey Simon Lee for moving this motion on exploring collaborative legislation in the GBA. The National 15th Five-Year Plan has entered its full implementation phase. The construction and development of GBA is one core strategy of our country. We have to create values and enhance our rules and regulations. In my amendment, I mentioned that we should give priority to the following 3 areas. First, ecological and environmental protection. Second, transport connectivity. And third, mutual recognition of vocational qualifications. There is an urgent need for us to focus on these 3 areas. In 2025, Shenzhen and Dongguan have passed a legislation to protect Maozhou River. Maozhou River was one river that faced the most serious pollution problem in the Yangtze River Delta. But with the protection efforts, it has now met the standards. In the central government level, one major priority is that we passed a law on protecting the environment, and it shows that our country would like the GBA to deepen the alignment of rules and regulations on protecting our ecological environment. Therefore, we have to push for this, and we have already seen success cases. This year, in the 2 sessions meetings, I talked about enhancing the combination of GBA cities. Currently, the cargo throughput of our shipping industry is lagging behind that of Shenzhen and Nansha. And in Nansha and Shenzhen, they often have to wait for loading and unloading of cargo. In order to remove barrier, I think we need a mechanism. We have to divert some of the cargoes from Nansha and Shenzhen to Hong Kong. Currently, our standards in terms of managing cargo trucks are different from that of other GBA cities, and therefore it lowers efficiency and it boosts costs. Therefore, there should be connectivity between Guangdong and Hong Kong container trucks. Also, there should be mutual recognition of vocational qualifications under SIPA. We encourage exchanges among professionals. There are professional groups among GBA cities to enter into agreement for mutual recognition of qualifications. However, there are still challenges in relation to convergence of rules and mechanisms. The qualification standards as well as assessment and requirements are different among the different GBA cities, and therefore it's hard to implement mutual recognition of qualifications. I hope that we can deepen the alignment of standards between Hong Kong and other GBA cities. With clear alignment of standards, we can ensure Hong Kong professionals can develop in the GBA, and then we can leverage our role in integrating into the development of our country. My amendment is to push for our dovetailing with the National 15th Five-Year Plan so that we can develop the GBA and achieve convergence of rules and mechanisms in the GBA. I hope you will support my amendment. Thank you. Ms. Maggie Chan, I speak in support of Dr. Hoey Simon Lee's original motion. I will focus on building an international arbitration hub in the GBA. I declare that I am an arbitrator, mediator, as well as a practicing lawyer in the GBA. I'm also a member of the arbitration committee in Guangzhou. Our country supports Hong Kong to develop ourselves into an international arbitration hub. We should build ourselves into an arbitration hub by building this industry. From the GBA to the Belt and Road countries, through aligning our rules and regulations with international arbitration organizations, we can build our brand as an international arbitration hub in the He-Tao area. We can also promote our coordination plan to the world. As at the end of August 2025, there are 285 arbitration committees in the country. They have handled over 5 million cases involving about 9 trillion RMB. The new arbitration laws in the mainland supports international or local arbitration organizations to expand themselves into the international network. Take the Hong Kong Arbitration Hub as an example. In 2025, it has handled 388 cases involving about $12 million. About 58.2% do not involve people from the mainland. It shows that our arbitration services have appeal and are capable of handling more mainland arbitration cases. I have the following suggestions. First, we have to build an international arbitration hub in the He-Tao area. It should focus on frontier technology. In the He-Tao area, we should build an arbitration hub that focuses on finance, biomedication, as well as IP and low-altitude economy. We should attract mainland arbitration organizations to set up branches in Hong Kong. We should also allow Hong Kong invested enterprises to adopt Hong Kong law to attract more clients from the mainland and other places to Hong Kong. We should also adopt common law to handle these cases. We should make use of the technology in the mainland as well as the procedures in Hong Kong. This would ensure efficiency as well as ensure alignment of international standards. This is the best way to help enterprises to go global. So by developing an arbitration hub in the Hetao area, we can bring together clients from international arbitration organizations and transform our strengths into strategies and achieve complementarity. Also, we should make use of the dedicated legislation on the northern metropolis. The government should help industries in drafting this dedicated legislation, and it should ensure cross-boundary flow of information to make sure that it can facilitate businesses. For example, there should be one single portal of government service. This will help protect legal organizations in the northern metropolis. It should also focus on arbitration organizations in the mainland and overseas and bring together clients from these organizations. Third, we should ensure closer convergence of rules and regulations. Arbitration laws of different GBA cities should align with each other. The SAR government should amend the arbitration ordinance in Hong Kong as soon as possible so that it can move with the times. I hope members will support my amendment. Mr. Peter Xu. Thank you, Deputy President. I thank Dr. Hoey Simon Lee for the motion. The National 15th Five-Year Plan stipulates aligning with high-standard international trade and economic rules to expand opening up, promoting the convergence of rules. Chapter 11 states that we have to expand opening up, promote the convergence and compatibility of domestic and international rules, regulations, management and standards, and create a transparent, stable and predictable institutional environment. Chapter 28 also states that we have to deepen development of the GBA by developing INT economy as well as public services. There should be closer alignment of rules and mechanisms in these areas. I propose the amendment to urge the government to promote collaborative legislation relating to the development of GBA standards through measures including formulating group standards. We should promote the national standards to the world. We see rapid development in our country for both the development of high-end manufacturing as well as services. They are ranked among the top of the world. However, it still faces pain points and challenges. And the crux of the challenges is about alignment of standards. Standard alignment is the foundation of building or internationalizing our industries. So we have to ensure China's standards can go global. In this regard, Hong Kong has three kinds of strength. First, we have institutional strength. Second, we have professionals ensuring testing and certification. And third, we can abide by the GBA standards. And the motion moved by Dr. Johnny Ng on the 19th of March, there was mention about this, so I'm not going to repeat the details here. Based on the above strengths I talked about, I believe we can develop Hong Kong into an international cooperation platform. I have the following suggestions. First, we need statutory bodies to set standards. This is to perform the duties given by the government to set standards. Second, we should strengthen GBA standards. Currently, there are 270 GBA standards covering about 30 areas. We should come up with technology to ensure connectivity. At the same time, we have to enhance GBA standards, and we need to come up with a mutual recognition system that cover the GBA, the entire mainland, as well as the world. Third, we should try out certain standards in some industries. before we go global. For example, we can leverage our status as an international financial center to formulate a standard that can apply to the world in areas such as green finance and digital finance. Also, we should make use of our advantages as a free port to promote cross-boundary commerce and trading. Also, we should leverage our strengths in INT. We should develop AI, biomedication, as well as fintech, and set new standards in these areas. Also, we should make use of our international network to promote standard alignment. We should deepen our alignment with ISO as well as other international organizations, and we should encourage these organizations to set up branches in Hong Kong. We should also sign MOU with Belt and Road countries to lower compliance costs of abiding by these standards. Also, we should come up with a mechanism to build a platform to provide inquiry and consultative services. We should build a one-stop platform for enterprises. To build Hong Kong as an international standard platform, we can promote it to Asia and to the world. This is to leverage our strengths and to dovetail with China standards as well as international standards. This is an important step. I hope members will support my amendment. Thank you.
Professor Priscilla LEUNG. Thank you, President. Mr. Ding from the central authorities met with the MPC deputies. He said that we have to proactively integrate and contribute to the national development. He asked Hong Kong Legislative Council members to adopt this innovative mindset and look at the big picture. Third, he asked us to make good use of our international organization for mediation. Hong Kong has to work with various sectors and enterprises in other cities in the main Greater Bay Area so that we can go global together, so that we can bring in investment from the Belt and Road countries. This is the beginning of the 15th five-year plan. Our country previously had to learn from others. In the 15th five-year plan, we want to lead in the international trade regulations and the global governance system. How can Hong Kong work on our rules, convergence, and mechanism alignment in the Greater Bay Area? This is our challenge. In 2023, in the MPC meetings, I said that we should share a common brand in the legal systems in the Greater Bay Area. Our common law system is very mature. With the concerted efforts between the Hong Kong SDR and the country, we have rolled out the principles of allowing Hong Kong invested enterprises to adopt Hong Kong law and to choose for arbitration to be seated in Hong Kong. We made the amendment very soon thereafter. In 2016, when our country advocated for the Belt and Road development, 50 international law experts and I made a proposal to the central government that we should develop an international arbitration and mediation mechanism. These experts come from 30-odd Belt and Road countries. Eventually, it became the International Organization for Mediation, which headquarters was established in Hong Kong in 2025. Our country is as one country, two system the principle. We have 3 legal jurisdictions. Hong Kong adopt the common law, Macau adopt a European continental law, and our country adopt socialist system. We respect our individual systems and while giving full play to our individual advantages. This motion is about collaborative legislation. We have to look into it and explore it. This may be a trend, but I need to point this out. It doesn't mean that we need a common piece of law that apply in all cities in the Greater Bay Area. It doesn't mean that we have to legislate together. If we don't have to legislate to relax barriers or align our standards and rules. We have to break systemic obstacles. We can do so through regulations and policies. Our administration have announced the 6 areas under the dedicated legislation for the Northern Metropolis. They're about the flow of people, goods, capital, data, so on and so forth. I was invited by the Mainland to discuss it. Sometimes we may not have to legislate, but some universities may have to relax their policies on the sharing of data. There is one single university that have such a sharing mechanism with the Mainland. There is a working group on the convergence of mechanisms and rules. If we need to legislate, there may be concerns and challenges. Let me give you an example. When the Mainland courts handle cross-boundary case of scale, can they be passed on to the International Organization for Mediation in Hong Kong to handle it? This is in discussion. Say, for example, green channel, materials, certification and testing, whitelist. I fully support it and also think that we should have an arbitration center in the Northern Metropolis. Your time is up. Mr. Michael Ngai. Thank you, President. I speak in support of Dr. Hoey Lee's original motion. The 15th five-year plan clearly states that we should further develop the Greater Bay Area. We should align our standards and regulations and enhance our legal safeguards. The collaborative development of the Greater Bay Area is a strategy of our country, but there are legal system difference among the 3 places, so this, to a certain extent, limit the flow of people, goods, and capital. For us to plug the loopholes, to solve the problems, we must work on it from the legal perspective. If we can have a common framework, it will enhance our competitiveness and allow us to better contribute to our country's development. I raised 4 different points in my amendment. First, I think that there should be mutual recognition of vocational qualifications and cross-boundary data flow. Some other members have talked about it. I will not repeat them. Now, I'd like to focus on the facilitation of financial services and social security connectivity. Now, on facilitation of financial services, Hong Kong as an international financial center, we must enhance our competitiveness. To do so, we have to work on connecting with the financial sector in the Greater Bay Area. But currently, now in terms of financial products, cross-boundary flow of capital, standards and rules, there's still some differences. Take Shanghai and Shenzhen as an example. Shanghai is working with Hong Kong to roll out a series of measures to promote financial services of INT enterprises going global. We can now rely on regulatory sandbox and policy support, but for us to promote our financial products and services, we need a clear legal framework. By legislation, we can establish a standardized GBA standard for cross-boundary use of renminbi, digital currency, green finance certification, and so on and so forth. When we remove the barriers from the legal perspective, can our financial activities contribute to the real economy. Now, in terms of social security connectivity, our country has rolled out a series of measures to facilitate flow of people. Many Hong Kong people have started a business on the mainland. There is urgent need for convergence of rules. Yangtze region have adopted collaborative legislation on areas, for example, healthcare and social security. Hong Kong and the mainland have to work on connecting our social security systems. By removing administrative barriers, we can align their standards. So I think that we should use Shanghai as a testing ground and apply this collaborative legislation idea on various social security systems. We can establish a information sharing platform to facilitate the flow of elements and data. From the facilitation of financial services to the social security connectivity, if we can improve on the details and the system, we can further integrate into the national development and Greater Bay Area. This allows us to have a more transparent and sustainable systems and environment and address challenges and disputes. This will allow us to accumulate experience and establish a framework to perfect a Greater Bay Area. This will allow us to enhance our overall competitiveness. I so submit, and I hope that members will support my amendment. Thank you. Secretary for Mainland and Constitutional Affairs. President, first of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Hoey Lee for moving the motion on exploring collaborative legislation in the Greater Bay Area, and Mr. Wu Yingpeng, Mr. Duncan Chiu, Mr. Thomas So, Mr. Andrew Yao, Ms. Maggie Chen, Mr. Peter Xu, Professor Priscilla LEUNG, and Mr. Michael Ngai for moving their amendments, so that we can engage in in-depth discussions on important issues of promoting the integrated development of the Greater Bay Area and deepening the convergence of rules and mechanisms within the region, and put forward their views and suggestions. The construction of the Greater Bay Area is a major national strategy personally planned, deployed, and promoted by President Xi. It represents a new practice and a new chapter in the development of the one country, two system policy, and is the best entry point for us to actively integrate with and serve the overall national development, as well as an important source of impetus for our development. As we all know, one of the greatest feature of the Greater Bay Area is one country, two system, three jurisdictions. The successful implementation of one country, two systems is precisely an important driver of the Greater Bay Area's high-quality development. Under one country systems, one of our edge is the common law system. We are internationalized and it's very reputable. Hong Kong is the only common law jurisdictions in our country and is the only common law jurisdiction in the world that operates bilingually in Chinese and English. Both our legal terminology and content are familiar to the international community. The motion proposes that the Hong Kong Greater Bay Area carry out legislative consultation and coordination with the respective authorities, fully acknowledging and respecting our unique role under the Basic Law and One Country, Two Systems. Currently, there is a difference in terms of our legal system in the Greater Bay Area. So when we develop, we have to look at our constraints so that we respect the authority of the mainland places. Under one country's two system and three legal jurisdictions, we have to promote collaborative development of the Greater Bay Area. The two are mutually reinforcing, and this is not something that the other regions can replicate. If you look at the examples on the mainland, collaborative legislation is mostly constrained to provinces and regions. There is clear laws in the mainland empowering the National People Congress to adopt collaborative legislation. However, the relevant legislation cannot be applied to Hong Kong. Collaborative legislation involves legislation across legal jurisdictions. For us to achieve that, we need to have the support of our country's constitution and the basic law, so that there is clear distinction between the mainland's and Hong Kong's legal system, and so that we can give full play to the common law system of our country, of Hong Kong, to serve our country. Under the central authorities' guidance and strong support, the governments of Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau have long worked together. In response to the needs of different policy areas and individual cooperation projects, they have pursued integrated development of the three places in a systemic manner and by various means. These measures include issuing planning and documents at the central level, for example, the outline development plan for the Greater Bay Area, which set requirements and directions for Greater Bay Area. The Hong Kong SAR government also worked with Guangdong Province and other cities in the Greater Bay Area on various projects. After reaching consensus, cooperation agreements and memorandum of understanding have been signed. This is such that Hong Kong SAR and the different provincial and municipal governments can adjust their policy and procedures within their respective powers. This practice ensures that the Greater Bay Area conform to the strategic direction of the country's overall development while accommodating regional cooperation's needs and flexibility. This have achieved tangible results, including a range of policy measures to facilitate the flow of people, goods, capital, and information. Over the past year, the Greater Bay Area development have reached multiple milestones. Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau jointly hosted the 15th National Games and the NGD for the first time, and we have also implemented the southbound travel for Guangdong vehicles. Each milestones have borne witness to the steps in integrated development of Greater Bay Area. The Airport Authority and Dongguan have also promoted the innovative development of sea air cargo intermodal service, enabling mainland export cargoes to complete air security screening, containerization, and pelletization at Air Cargo Center and be transported seamlessly to Hong Kong International Airport in a manner that meets our security requirements, from where Hong Kong Air Network can carry the cargo to destinations worldwide. We will continue to review the direction of our integrated development with other GBA cities so that we can adapt measures to changing circumstances and local conditions. We will adhere to this principle of upholding the fundamentals while innovating so that we can explore policy direction that meets practical needs. President, my colleagues and I will listen carefully to members' views. Thank you, President. Mr. Chen Wing-Kwong. Thank you, President. I thank Dr. Hoey Lee for moving this very forward-looking motion so that we can talk about how we can adhere to this one country while leveraging on two systems and make use of laws to break barriers to promote the high-quality development of the Greater Bay Area. I support the motion that we have to explore collaborative legislation in the Greater Bay Area. There have been many successful examples on such on the mainland. Say, for example, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, Shanghai, and Anhui have legislated together on atmosphere pollution. Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei have established a common piece of law on vehicle emission pollution. Sichuan, Shanxi worked on the protection of a giant panda of our country. The Hong Kong SAR government have been adhering to the principle of one country, two system. We have been working on dovetailing our standards and mechanisms with the mainland. We have a Wealth Connect, we have cross-boundary services. This has deepened the collaboration among cities in the Greater Bay Area, and the residents in the area have benefited. All these examples shows that by collaborative legislation, we can facilitate resource sharing and collaboration. With the integrated development of the GBA, there is a greater flow of people, goods, and capital, as well as information. I think that we have to work on collaborative legislation so that we can remove barriers for convergence of rules and mechanism. And this is how we can achieve synergy and build the Greater Bay Area into a livable, workable international Bay Area. President, I think that collaborative legislation does not only facilitate integrated development, but also enhance the various traits that we have. Say, for example, recently there has been enhanced collaboration on Chinese medicine in Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. However, there is still systemic obstacles. Say, for example, drug registration, qualification recognition, there is still challenges. In order for us to overcome these challenges, we must be innovative. We have to align our standards and mechanisms. So I support the motion. I think that we can learn from the successful examples of collaborative legislation on the mainland to remove barriers, to promote integrated development of Chinese medicine in the Greater Bay Area. I also support what Mr. Ka-fai said. We have to promote a single GBA standards. I hope that we can leverage on our advantage in testing and work with other Greater Bay Area cities to establish a standard. President, the 15th five-year plan of our country says that we have to promote regional collaboration. I believe that in the 15th five-year plan period, the development of Chinese medicine will be included, and this is something that we have to work on. I think that we have to fully leverage our advantage of having one country, two system, and turn the Greater Bay Area into an international Chinese medicine innovation hub. Thank you.
Mr. Jimmy. Thank you, Mr. Deputy. This motion is about exploring collaborative legislation in the Greater Bay Area. Before digging deeper, let's first look at regional collaborative legislation. In simple terms, this means you have different jurisdictions. They are confronting a common issue. They find a way to work with each other and then they legislate. The mainland has been driving regional collaborative legislation. So in the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei area and the Yangtze River Delta, they have pushed joint legislation on the environment. The central authorities also encourage adapting to local conditions in collaborative legislation. No two regions are alike, so we can learn from the experience elsewhere, but we cannot simply transplant the practices from elsewhere. In the Greater Bay Area, you have just one country, two systems, and three jurisdictions. This is unique in the world. So when we explore collaborative legislation, we have to be mindful that we are coordinating development. We also have to maintain our unique strengths. We have to plan and we have to proceed with care. Here's a three-point plan we can adopt. First, top-level design. Hong Kong, Macau, and the mainland cities of the GBA are different. So there are differences to be mindful of when it comes to major regulations such as security and privacy. We have to sort out the differences, and that means a systematic approach to the approach. We have to set our priorities. We have to consult extensively. We have to talk to stakeholders, and then we get someone higher up to make a final decision. So collaborative legislation means we have to first get the top level right. We have to go through consultation, and then we implement the measure. Second, we have to take a project-based approach. We need task groups to follow up on the specific tasks. Many areas require collaboration. You need discussions between dedicated task forces on each issue. In the Greater Bay Area, you have Hong Kong, Macau, and Guangdong, but there are 9 cities in Guangdong. Rules vary from one place to the next. Even with the broad direction right, we have to adapt to local conditions, and we have to talk to each local government to achieve the outcome we want. At this stage, we have to consult the industry and stakeholders about their challenges, and then we take a bespoke approach. Third, we need standards. Without a mutually recognized set of standards, there is no collaboration. Designing GBA standards is a good example. We follow standards and then we can achieve high quality. Now the standards apply to goods and services. We can expand the scope. Mr. Peter Shiu's amendment is about collaborative legislation on GBA standards. The BPA supports this. We should adopt multiple certification after a single test. This kind of mutually beneficial development can strengthen GBA standards, and we can take China's standards global. Now, based on an ancient Chinese classics on the interpretation of Chinese characters, the Chinese character for collaboration requires harmony and coming together. You also need to put the mind to it. We have to serve the public. I stress again that collaborative legislation should be honored in spirit. It's about alignment of rules. Legal systems are different in the GBA. You have 3 distinct sets of legal institutions in the GBA. I want to stress that collaborative legislation should be about legislating within these jurisdictions' respective jurisdictions instead of having a uniform set of laws for all 3 places. Mr. Jonathan Lamport. Mr. Deputy, I support Dr. Simon Lee's motion on exploring collaborative legislation in the GBA. It is a venture for foreign businesses to tap a new market, and then when they come to the GBA, they encounter 3 jurisdictions. It's like going on a cruise, and every point along the way, they have to stop, they have to get new visa, and that puts people off. So collaborative legislation is about giving people smooth sailing, a smooth journey all the way to the end. Otherwise, the GBA will end up being a geographical expression rather than an integrated market. We cannot achieve uniformity of rules, but we can start somewhere. So from the business perspective, we can do a few things. First, mutual recognition of professional qualifications and the free flow of talent. This is not about people landing a job. This is about regional headquarters of foreign businesses. Many foreign businesses set up their regional headquarters in Hong Kong, but let's say they take on a project from Dongguan, but then the project director has qualification issues, qualifications not recognized in Hong Kong, they cannot sign the paper, so the Hong Kong headquarters will not be able to do its job. So mutual recognition of professional qualifications will be crucial. We need a uniform set of standards when it comes to professional qualifications. So someone with the qualification can come to Hong Kong and they can take on projects in the rest of the GBA, and that will bring in not just expertise but also professional services. And such a system will also allow young professionals from Hong Kong to pursue a career in the mainland, and that would foster a sense of belonging. And we should also institutionalize the arrangements for Hong Kong invested businesses to choose Hong Kong law or Hong Kong as a place for their arbitration. And this has been applied in Zhuhai. Let's legislate for these arrangements so that we regularize these. Foreign businesses want legal certainty. Giving the option to foreign businesses to choose the laws they are familiar with in all 9 mainland cities of the GBA would bring immense business certainty. Finally, cross-boundary flow of data and privacy. Data are the blood of the digital economy. Multinational tech firms see this inconsistency between the mainland privacy laws and Hong Kong's privacy laws. So those businesses will have to go through 2 different sets of privacy audits, and each audit costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the audit takes months. So we can consider a GBA data zone. Let's clarify the legal boundaries and the criteria. Let the data flow in the GBA. Let's do away with the duplicate privacy audit. Get that done, and the GBA will be a key part, a keynote in the dual circulation. Collaborative legislation is not about removing all differences in 2 systems. It's about removing the friction. We have to achieve alignment. So let's start with attracting businesses and investment. Let's set up a regularized mechanism for businesses to take part. We turn the GBA into the best Bay Area in the world. So submit and support the motion. Mr. Sunny Tan. Thank you, Mr. Deputy. The 15th Five-Year Plan just came out. The plan stresses deepening the development of the GBA. There is stress on economic development and public services, as well as alignment of rules and institutions. I support the motion on exploring collaborative legislation in the GBA. This approach can achieve greater depth and take us to a higher level in Hong Kong's contribution to our country, and this can also show Hong Kong's unique strength in having our country supporting global connections. With the 5-year plan and our country's high-quality development, Hong Kong must be more proactive in seizing and leveraging our unique strength, and we have to support our country's development strategy. We need a multi-pronged approach in supporting traditional, emerging, and future industries. We should do what we do best and help our country raise its competitiveness in the industrial chain. And there are a few areas where we can look at collaborative legislation so that we proactively seize and highlight the strength, and we do what we do best, and we support our country in getting ahead. First, industrial policies. We have to adapt to local conditions. This matters. The HKSL government is drawing up its own 5-year plan. We should start with the top-level design. We should consider our industries. For different sectors, we need a far-sighted and long-term industrial policy. We have our traditional leading industries. They have a solid foundation. They have a track record. We have a well-developed ecosystem. We have global connections. These industries have contributed much to our economy, so let's beef up these industries. For emerging and future industries, we should also double down on nurturing them to support our country's development. Our development can support our country's push to become more competitiveness across industries. Second, we should make use of the northern metropolis, including the Loop area. We should foster the flow of factors of production between the mainland and Hong Kong. Coordinated development requires the flow of people, materials, capital, and data. The Loop is a great testing ground. Biosamples and data can be taken as an example. Hong Kong has its healthcare system, clinical rules, and legal systems. We are aligned with global practice, so we are the best place for mainland specimens and data to come here. Mainland pharma drug makers have come here, and they're looking to go global via Hong Kong. Legislation and special policies fostering the flow of biosamples in the Loop will attract more biotech firms, and we will have a greater cluster, and that will strengthen our local INT ecosystem. Third, we should move faster in creating an ecosystem for the trading of intellectual property rights. We should promote the mutual recognition of trademarks across Hong Kong, Macau, and the mainland. The BPA has been calling for talks between Hong Kong and the mainland on protection for intellectual property and trademarks. We should expedite the creation of mutual recognition for IP, and let's also learn from the EU system on trademarks. This means within a certain period, you use a trademark and then you can treat this trademark as being in use across the GBA. This will make it easier for businesses, and that can also strengthen its role as a center for IP trading. We should foster the flow of talent. The flow of talent is crucial to development. We should strengthen coordinated development in talent. So for employees of SMEs from the GBA, we should offer these employees more flexible visas. We should also create more internship visas for graduates, and that can help us nurture and retain talent. There are 9 mainland cities in the GBA. Each city has its own strengths. Legislation to promote convergence and alignment of rules and institutions. We should team up with each other, and that we can together we can contribute to our country's high quality development. I support the motion and the amendment.
Mr. Michael Lee. Thank you, Deputy President. I agree with what Mr. Peter Chiu said in his amendment. There are differences in relation to our standards as well as the GBA standards on Chinese medicine. It is like one computer with incompatible hardware, and that could reduce efficiency. My view is that we have to ensure convergence of standards. And Hong Kong can be the core engine that drives the alignment of standards in the GBA. I'd like to use the MIC construction method for Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macao Bridge as an example. I'd like to talk about how we can align standards. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macao Bridge links up Hong Kong, Zhuhai, and Macau. It is 55 kilometers long, and it involves thousands of technical details and items. There are 3 different sets of standards in relation to materials as well as construction procedures in Hong Kong, the mainland, as well as in Macau. Without a uniform set of standards, we wouldn't be able to see the construction of this bridge. So what lies behind the success is that we need a unified standard. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macao Bridge proves that we are able to make breakthroughs, and we can replicate this model to other areas so that we can ensure closer convergence of rules and mechanisms. MIC construction method has become a pioneer in the GBA or even in the world. It has helped us overcome a lot of challenges. 80% of the work procedures are done in factories with the MIC construction method. This kind of construction model is an international construction standard. According to government statistics, over 70 MIC projects in Hong Kong cover schools and hostels as well as hospitals and residential developments. We can promote this MIC standards to the world. Apart from the above, in ESG, green finance, as well as carbon audit, we can also take the lead, and we can become the standard setter in the world in these areas. Take green finance as an example. We can uniform the standards and build a framework. We can align our standards with the international world. For example, we can provide standard recognition for green construction projects, for carbon auditing as well as green finance. We can, for example, again align our standards with the international world, and we can build a world-recognized standard so that we can tackle the pain points that we face. In the interest of time, I'd like to summarize that Hong Kong can be the driving engine in building standards. We can take the lead, and together with Macau as well as other mainland cities, we can build standards in green finance, carbon auditing, as well as ESG, so that we can dovetail with the international standards. We can also make use of testing and certification center in Hong Kong to build a testing and certification hub. We can unify the standards in Hong Kong, Macau, as well as in the mainland. And we can lower testing and certification costs, and we can even promote digital testing and certification standards in architecture, construction, as well as food products. We see the three major advantages in Hong Kong, and with these advantages, we can make sure that we can promote the standards to the world, and we can become more competitive. And Hong Kong can play an important role in this regard, and so that we can contribute to our country. I speak in support of Dr. Simon Lee's motion. Mr. Tam Chen Kwok. Thank you, Deputy President. I speak in support of Dr. Hoey Simon Lee's motion and other members' amendments. The National 15th Five-Year Plan sees a dedicated chapter about Hong Kong, and there are also other chapters that support Hong Kong in boosting its competitiveness. There are parts about promoting the integrated development of the Greater Bay Area in areas, for example, in forging closer convergence of rules and mechanisms. This is to help build a world-class Bay Area. Director Xiao Baolong earlier went to the GBA, and he talked about the proactive dovetailing of GBA into the development of our country. This shows that working closer with the GBA is one important mission given by our country. Hong Kong, like other GBA cities, have been working with each other, and through collaboration between government, businesses, and among citizens, we see cooperation. While we have the advantages, we face challenges as well. We have to make sure that there is alignment of rules and standards. With difficulties in terms of flow of people, I think we have to be innovative in order to make breakthroughs. Hong Kong is the only common law jurisdiction in our country, and we uphold the one country, two systems principle. Like Mr. Wu Yingpeng said in his amendment, we have to build on this foundation to develop a coordination mechanism. We have to leverage our strengths in order to align rules and regulations. We have to be the gateway of our country. While we achieve collaborative legislation, we have to, based on our own circumstances, achieve what we want to do. I agree with Dr. Thomas So. He said we have to draw on the experience in the Hong Kong Ka-fai Park, and we can use the dedicated legislation on the Northern Metropolis as the pilot point to make sure that there can be closer convergence of rules and regulations. From policy as well as rules and regulations, we've been working with Shenzhen as well as other mainland cities. I believe the Northern Metropolis can be a demonstration zone, and there will be a piece of dedicated legislation for the Northern Metropolis, and that could be an example of us breaking away from old mentality. There can be a white list to facilitate the flow of personnel in He-Tao area. If we achieve success, we could extend this model to the Sentient Technopole and other regions. As for the flow of capital, goods, as well as data, I understand that the SAR government is currently in talks with the mainland authorities. We can consider having a dedicated legislation in the Northern Metropolis as a pilot point. I agree with Mr. Duncan that we can have better coordination and alignment in areas such as the flow of data. Over the past weekend, we saw the commencement of works in Sandy Ridge, And data flow in Hong Kong has been leading around the world, so we have to be innovative and build Hong Kong as an international data hub. That way, we can enhance the GBA's status as a digital economy hub. I also support the idea of having regulatory sandboxes. We should consider different application scenarios. Before we implement any projects on a large scale basis, we have to ensure that we can make good use of resources and ensure that the development can be taken forward in an orderly manner. Next, Ms. Michelle Tang. The National 15 Five-Year Plan mentions that we have to dovetail with the international standards, and the SAR government is going to formulate its first 5-year plan. This is to align with the national strategies and to achieve integrated development in the GBA. To ensure the flow of people, goods, data, and capital, we have to make sure that we can remove the barriers. We have to make sure that there are alignment of rules and regulations. And under one country, two systems, as well as under the basic law framework, the three jurisdictions can, through institutionalized coordination as well as alignment of rules and mechanisms, make use of laws to resolve any cross-boundary issues to ensure high-quality development. I think the SAR government should work on the following three areas on collaborative legislation. First, the SAR government should study enacting laws for cross-boundary infrastructure to ensure a flow of goods as well as connectivity. We have seen the completion of infrastructure such as the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macao Bridge. The new Hong Kong port will be completed as well, and there will be the joint collaborative clearance model, and the clearance time will be shortened to 5 minutes from 30 minutes. These are all very encouraging, but the current arrangement based on administrative collaboration, we want to unleash the potential of this cross-boundary infrastructure. We need legal safeguards. On the flow of data as well as cross-boundary vehicle flow, we have to have better alignment of rules and regulations. Then we can extend the northbound travel scheme for Hong Kong vehicles as well as the southbound travel scheme for Guangdong vehicles. We can streamline the custom clearance procedure if we see alignment of rules and build the BCP economy. We also have to make sure that there are alignment of rules and regulations to ensure mutual recognition of professional qualifications. Currently, we see the one exam multiple certifications model for the construction industry. And we have achieved results under this model. In the loop, we're also exploring contactless clearance to facilitate the flow of personnel. This kind of pilot schemes are built on administrative procedures. The SAR government should ensure collaborative legislation so that we can transform these pilot schemes into policies and we can transform these systems into laws. With laws in place, we'll be able to ensure mutual recognition of professional qualifications and provide better safeguards for the professionals in Hong Kong. The SAR government should build a platform for facilitating cross-boundary flow of personnel in the loop. There should be innovative clearance models to attract mainland as well as international talent to come to Hong Kong. This is to reinforce our status as a high-caliber hub for attracting talent. At the same time, we have to make sure that there is alignment of standards in the GBA. And this is an important tool for us to upgrade our regional brands. Since the establishment of GBA standards in 2023, we've seen an increasing number of items under the GBA standards. However, they're not legally binding. In the future, in Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. Through collaborative legislation, we could enhance the legal binding effect of the GBA standards in different areas such as finance, engineering, as well as testing and certification. We can also allow the testing and certification bodies in Hong Kong to take part in the setting of GBA standards. This will help us transform the GBA standards into international standards. Then we can better align ourselves with the international standards. That way we can help promote our businesses as well as the domestic market and boost our competitiveness. I so submit. Thank you.
Professor William Wong. Thank you, President. The 15th five-year plan states that we have to deepen construction of the Greater Bay Area, reinforce innovation and technology, and promote convergence of mechanisms and rules. We have to speed up the construction of International Bay Area. The Greater Bay Area has the unique advantage of having one country, two systems, and three legal jurisdictions. There are some obstacles that we have to overcome. Dr. Hoey Simon Lee said that we have to explore collaborative legislation in the Greater Bay Area, and this is how we promote a regional collaboration by establishing a common framework. Through establishing soft linkage in laws, we can turn our soft power into true systems. I think that we can work on two different areas. First, we can promote the commercialization of R&D outcome. Hong Kong has a unique advantage of strong R&D capabilities in the university level. There are many great IP on the mainland, but they don't have enough commercialization talents. In order for the Greater Bay Area to become an international INT hub, Hong Kong has to further integrate into the supply chain or industrial chain of the Greater Bay Area. However, when we want to commercialize our R&D outcome, we are faced with multiple systemic barriers. Say, for example, there is different IP systems among the three places. There is no mutual recognition of qualifications, and there is also different sales channels in the three places. We have to rely on a legal framework to overcome these barriers so that we can promote innovation of technology and industries. To promote innovation, we have to not just rely on technological breakthrough, we also have to work on legal and supervision framework. We have to ease restrictions. At the Hong Kong-Shenzhen INT cooperation zone, we can create a sandbox to accumulate experience on collaborative legislation to establish a new set of legal framework that can accommodate innovation and supervision for the Greater Bay Area so that we can turn our advantage into our competitiveness. Second, we have to institutionalize our collaborative system. The plan talks about the promotion of ocean technology. We share the Mirs Bay with Shenzhen. The Mirs Bay have become one of the outstanding examples of beautiful bay of our country. It has great potential for eco-conservation and research. In order for us to promote conservation, we have to work with other governments. Regarding the Mirs Bay development, we can work with Guangdong and Macau on collaborative investment and supervision to create more channel for the flow of people, vessels, INT, and facilities. I think that we can establish a support platform for ocean laboratories and cross-boundary IT research and development. We need to establish a collaborative mechanism on the legal basis so that we can further promote the collaboration between Hong Kong and mainland on eco-conservation and ocean economy. President, we're going to publish and enact the dedicated legislation for the Northern Metropolis. I hope that we can promote cross-boundary collaboration with Shenzhen on the legal level so that we can work with the mainland on eco-conservation. And this is how we can meet the requirements under the 15th Five-Year Plan for INT development and high-quality development for the Greater Bay Area. Mr. Chen Ha-Ken. Thank you, President. I thank Dr. Hoey Simon Lee and the other members for their views on exploring collaborative legislation in the Greater Bay Area. This is an important tool for us to achieve convergence of systems and rules, and I think that we have to look into it. As far as I understand, by collaborative legislation, it doesn't mean that we have to standardize our legal system, but it means that through advanced communication, convergence of standards and rules, and mutual recognition of regulations, we can achieve complementarity and synergy in the three regions. This idea respects the one country, two system framework while providing an operable way for cross-boundary collaboration. I think that one of the greatest example of such is the green industry that we want to develop. I think that we can have collaborative legislation on this field. I gave this example because in the country's 15th Five-Year Plan, it is stated that we have to speed up green transformation and promote the development and innovation of carbon financial products and derivatives. Hong Kong, as an international financial center, we want to develop a carbon trading platform. Hong Kong wants to develop itself into an international or regional carbon trading hub. In order for us to achieve these goals, we have to tackle two different challenges. First, international recognition. That is, how can we dovetail CCER of our country with the international carbon reduction standards? If we can achieve this, then we can be a bridge that connects the international and mainland markets. Second, on cross-boundary trading channels, how can we work on cross-boundary flow of capital, asset registration, monitoring, and supervision? How can we trade carbon credits, for example? I think that this is how we can explore collaborative legislation. If we want to develop a common carbon market in the Greater Bay Area, we must work with Guangdong and Macau. By having collaborative legislation, we can align our rules. Collaborative legislation is nothing abstract. It serves true systemic functions. Carbon trading market rely on a commonly recognized administrative and registration standards. If the three places use different standards, then market participants it's difficult to adapt and it's difficult for trading to happen. The cost of trading would be high as a result. However, if the three places share a theme, a legal framework, and standards, then there will be mutual trust, and as a result, the market will be more stable, and by that, we will have a more predictable system and environment. By using blockchain, we can enhance the transparency of carbon products, enhance its traceability and recognition. This will boost market confidence. Compared to other mature industries, carbon market and green financial products are rather new in the Greater Bay Area. So there is not any barriers in terms of trade or systems yet. So we have to take this opportunity to devise a common standards and framework. I have used this carbon trading example to demonstrate the benefits of collaborative legislation. This is beneficial to the Greater Bay Area, the entire industry, and Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. I speak in support of the motion and the amendments. Thank you. Mr. Yingpeng. Thank you, President. As the Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau are integrating, we have to remove barriers. As we explore collaborative legislation, there is misunderstanding in the community. People misunderstand that by collaborative legislation, we mean that we are going to share the same set of law. Collaborative legislation is about working together. It's not about transfer of power. It's not about changing the functions or terms of reference of the Legislative Council, and doesn't mean that the Guangdong province can legislate in Hong Kong. While we respect individual and respective legal jurisdictions, we can establish common legal framework to combat issues. Say, for example, promote mutual recognition of professional titles, for example, and by that we can promote eco-conservation and connection of transport and traffic. This is how we can promote people's bond. However, as there's a systemic difference among the three places, so there's bound to be misunderstanding. We have to be pragmatic. Hong Kong operates the common law. Our country operates the socialist civil law. Our common law system is our unique advantage, and this is an important force for Hong Kong to attract investment. So I think that as we explore collaborative legislation, we have to make sure that when the two sets of law operates in Hong Kong and Mainland, it can operate very smoothly. This will boost the confidence of international investors. Second, there is problems with mutual recognitions of qualifications. In the era of digital economy, there will be loopholes and problems. On the mainland, we have data security law and personal data protection laws. Hong Kong's personal data privacy ordinance focuses on personal rights and is more in line with international standards. I think that we have to establish a common framework and mechanism. This is not to lower the level of protection, but to ensure data safety and security. This is how we can promote business while unleashing the potential of data. We also have to make sure that people's privacy is protected. Third, the laws is not just about the provisions, but also about operation. The three places may have a set of collaborative legislation on business arbitration, but the standards of judgment is still different. If there is disputes among the three places, who will have the rights to make the judgment? How will we make sure that the laws is enacted fairly and justly? We need to alleviate people's concern. We need to make sure that while we retain our own advantages, we can align our standards and rules efficiently. We have to keep an open mind to it. I so support the motion and all the amendments. Thank you.
Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, Mr. Deputy. I thank Dr. Simon Lee for his motion. The 15th five-year plan requires the Hong Kong and Macau to deepen the alignment of rules and institutions in a number of areas. Effective alignment will allow us to contribute to our country's high-quality development. The Northern Metropolis needs to play a role. For that to happen, we need legislation. Otherwise, inconsistencies in rules, barriers, and obstacles will stand in the way. We have to sort out the flow of 4 factors: people, materials, capital, and data. We need not just infrastructure, we also need the bi-directional flow of these 4 factors. What we lack is not direction, but we have problems with inconsistent rules, regulations, and protocols, and this means multiple declarations and verifications. To sort out the problem, we can learn from the experience elsewhere. Let's take a look at the European Union. For doctors, engineers, and lawyers, they have a simplified system to recognize their qualifications. EU countries can transfer funds from each other between member states at low fees. For product, when a product is recognized and launched in one country, other member states cannot reject them. A single set of labels will allow the products to be sold in all EU member states. There are also data safeguards to make sure there's no data silos in the EU. This means regional integration is not about removing all barriers. Instead, it is about adopting a consistent set of standards, criteria, and thresholds. Under one country, 2 systems, there are different rules in Hong Kong, Macau, and the mainland cities of the GBA. We're not looking for uniformity. We're simply looking for mutual recognition. Collaborative legislation will not get rid of all barriers. We're simply trying to make the flow easier between Hong Kong and the mainland. We're automating processes. We're trying to do contactless customs clearance instead of making people queue up. We simply want common standards, common platforms, and this applies to professional qualifications and tracking systems. We uphold security and order. We want to make it easier for frequent travelers between Hong Kong and the mainland. For goods, we need dedicated databases. For customs declaration, quarantine easier by having mutual recognition between the 2 sides, and we keep track of the entire journey. For finance, Hong Kong is a financial center. While we facilitate the flow of capital between Hong Kong and the mainland, we have to improve our cross-boundary regulatory collaboration in anti-money laundering. Fintech can help us keep track of capital so that money serves the real economy and funds technological innovation. As we uphold our country's financial security, we should strengthen our edge as a free port. We need a certification system for data safeguards, and that requires regional level collaborative legislation. We need a cross-boundary data framework where we can keep track of data and we can ensure accountability. We're not looking for more flow, and we're not trying to achieve an outflow of resources. We're trying to bring together talent and resources so that we can keep contributing to our country's high-quality development. Virtuous competition between GBA cities aside, we also need greater connectivity in the GBA to make the region more attractive so that we can better contribute to our country. I so submit I support the motion and all amendments. Mr. Mwurkit. Mr. Deputy, I support Dr. Simon Lee's motion on exploring collaborative legislation in the GBA. The GBA is a major development strategy of our country. The goal is to turn the Bay Area into a world-class Bay Area. But there are 3 customs territories in the GBA. There are different administrative and legal systems. It's one country, 2 systems, 3 jurisdictions. This is a source of strength for Hong Kong, but this is also a challenge that we have to overcome. Collaborative legislation in the GBA requires us to stick to the one country, two systems, and we have to make the most of the two systems arrangement. We have to stay within the framework of one country, two systems, the Constitution, and the basic law. We should always stick to this overarching principle, and this is the basis of Hong Kong's long-term prosperity. Over the past few years, we have achieved progress in the alignment of rules and protocols, and this includes northbound travel, Hong Kong vehicles, wealth connect schemes, etc. But we are stuck at the level of pilots, and we only have connectivity over specific policies. As we proceed along the path, we need to address infrastructure, data, and more regional issues. Administrative cooperation or policy-specific connectivity are not good enough. For this motion, we should learn from the mainland experience in regional level collaborative legislation. We should go for collaboration in the GBA for legislation. This is pragmatic and far-sighted. Collaborative legislation cannot happen overnight and should not be so, so we should pick suitable areas for pilots. Education is a good place to start because there's a solid basis for education. We already have experience in collaboration. Our universities already have satellite campuses in the mainland cities of the GBA, and then there are sister schools, and then there are vocational schools. Such collaboration runs into troubles that are barriers over data flow and recognition of qualifications. This has to do with the differences in the systems between the cities. Choosing education as a place to start for legislative collaboration is a good place to start. Under one country, two systems, a trial scheme starting with education can ensure a flow of talent. We should always follow the basic law and the Constitution, and we should always retain control for Hong Kong's education on our side. So for cross-boundary schools, we should have in place systems for recognizing qualifications. And then for cross-boundary data flow, there should be safeguards. For that, we need clear legal rules. And this can provide safeguards for the nurturing of talent so that the GBA can produce a steady flow of talent, and then Hong Kong and the GBA can become a regional education hub. And we can also build experience in collaborative legislation through education, because this is where the central government's prerogatives are also involved. A trial in education can give us a chance to try out collaborative mechanisms in legislation. And we can build experience in negotiating with other jurisdictions in conflict of law, so that with the experience we can proceed with other areas for collaborative legislation such as finance. Now, collaborative legislation is not about giving up our own education system. On the contrary, we're sticking to one country, two systems with safeguards under the basic law and the Constitution. We want to better leverage our institutional strength. We complement the mainland's education system so that we keep contributing talent to our country. The government should start a study on this area. Let's identify the differences between our education system and that of the mainland, and then we consult the education and legal sectors. We come up with a proposal. During the study, we should always uphold one country, two systems, and the basic law and the Constitution, so that we always stick to the principles under the basic law. We do not undermine our country's sovereignty, security, and development interest. Your time is up, Mr. Chen Pokji. Mr. Deputy, the Greater Bay Area features one country, two systems, and three jurisdictions. This is a strength, but that also brings challenges arising from institutional differences. On food safety and testing, we already have some collaboration. The GBA has already released more than 200 GBA standards covering food and drugs. For food, There are more than 80 such standards. To further deepen collaboration, we should explore collaborative legislation so that well-developed GBA standards become legally binding rules. We should move towards the goal of a single test leading to certification in Hong Kong, Macau, and Guangdong. The 15th Five-Year Plan expressly requires Hong Kong to become a driving force in the GBA's development, and we need high standard rules on economics and trade. And this is the policy basis for us to explore collaborative legislation. On agriculture and fisheries, we should focus on a few key areas. First, we need a food traceability and testing standards recognized in Hong Kong, Macau, and Guangdong. Now, for fish from high-quality fish farms and organic vegetables, when these products enter the mainland market, they have enormous potential in the mainland. So let's build on the basis of GBA standards and also the new branding system for local agricultural produce. Let's come up with a new testing and certification system recognized by the entire GBA. Let's also use the blockchain technology to cover the entire journey from production to tracing. Cross-boundary sale of agricultural produce will still be subject to food safety regulations such as labeling, preservatives, testing methods, and customs clearance. So, different authorities in the GBA should work together on the convergence and alignment of rules and institutions. Let's deepen collaboration, let's foster soft connectivity in rules, and let's scale new height, and let's create fresh impetus for the economic diversification of Hong Kong, and this can also give mainland consumers more options at the table. We should also explore the extension of giving Hong Kong invested businesses the choice of Hong Kong law and Hong Kong as a place for arbitration. Now, we already have a trial about the free trade zone. As we work ever more closely with the mainland, cross-boundary business, dispute resolution, and risk management are also becoming more vital, so Hong Kong can leverage its strength in dispute resolution. We should make the business environment in the GBA more international. So, giving businesses the option to use Hong Kong law or Hong Kong as a place of arbitration will be good for business. The next point has to do with cross-boundary R&D outcomes and also joint prevention mechanisms of animal diseases. To modernize Hong Kong's agriculture and fisheries industries, we should leverage the mainland's leading technologies. So with collaborative legislation, let's come up with a regularized system for research, academia, the government, and the industry to work together. Let's support joint research on key technologies. Let's work together in driving industrial upgrading and transformation. Collaborative legislation is not about uniformity in laws. It's about respecting the legal differences in the GBA. We go for consultation to come up with a way to align rules. We should learn from the urban clusters from the mainland which had succeeded in collaborative legislation, and let's take the loop in the northern metropolis as a pilot site to seize the strategic opportunities of the 15th Five-Year Plan. Let's foster the study on collaborative legislation in the Greater Bay Area so that Hong Kong can contribute to the Greater Bay Area and for the GBA to become a world-class Bay Area. So submit.
Mr. Rock Chen, Deputy President, I speak in support of Dr. Hoey Simon Lee's original motion. This year marks the inaugural year of the National 15th Five-Year Plan. The outline of the 15th Five-Year Plan has just been announced, and it states that we have to deepen GBA alignment in rules. The GBA features one country, two systems, and three legal jurisdictions. This is a way for us to connect with the world, and this is also an obstacle that we have to overcome. So we have to engage in institutionalized and normalized legislative collaboration, and that's how we can contribute to our country. I, in principle, support the amendments of the motion because they reflect the aspiration of members to promote integrated development of the GBA. However, in terms of policy, I think the SAR government has to be prudent and distinguish areas where Hong Kong has high degree of autonomy and other areas that could be governed by the central government. For areas where we have high degree of autonomy, we should move in full steam. I think as we explore collaborative legislation in the GBA, we must uphold one country, two systems and retain the great common law tradition and advantages. Collaborative legislation does not mean replicating one set of laws to other GBA cities. Instead, we have to find commonalities. For example, in relation to environmental standards, transport and logistics, as well as vocational qualification. In these areas, there is administrative foundation among the three places where authority or power permit, we can move ahead with collaborative legislation, and this can reinforce Hong Kong's status as an international legal dispute resolution center. I am in the financial industry, so I am particularly concerned about cross-boundary flow of capital, the establishment of a whitelist, as well as the regulatory sandboxes. I must stress that there is a strong demand for the industry to remove barriers to facilitate cross-boundary flow of capital and data. However, I understand that there is great complexity when it comes to collaborative legislation in these areas. It cannot be decided solely by the SAR government. The country implements prudent check on the flow of capital, and this has to do with the policy on our country's foreign exchange, and these are under the purview of the central government. On these areas, I believe that the SAR government, when studying the collaborative legislation, it must have full communication with the central authorities so that we get the authorization. We can use the Hong Kong-Shenzhen INT cooperation zone as the testing field. Where risks are controllable, we can take forward the scheme, and where we can align with our country's policies, we can make sure that there is flow of data as well as capital. Alignment of standards is a cornerstone for us. I hope the SAR government can move progressively. While I hope it can be bold and innovative, it should make sure that it is prudent in exploring collaborative legislation in the GBA. I so submit. I speak in support of the motion. Mr. Tang Fei. Deputy President, I speak in support of Dr. Hoey Simon Lee's motion. The motion is to call for integrated development of the GBA so that the three places can explore collaborative legislation. I support this motion. There's one point that we might not have noticed. Education is one area where we can forge closer convergence of rules and mechanisms. The SAR government has been supporting the establishment of schools and courses by Hong Kong institutions in the GBA. There are over 10 institutions that offer courses from Hong Kong. In 2025, there are also Hong Kong accredited and recognized schools that offer DSE program. There are also institutions from Hong Kong that participate in organizing various kinds of education programs in the mainland. This shows that this has been implemented on a large-scale basis, and that the DSE program has been promoted to the GBA. Therefore, the professional recognition system for Hong Kong teachers should move with the times. The SAR government should review the teacher registration mechanism as well as the salary regime. There should be rules stipulating that teachers from Hong Kong who teach in mainland schools or mainland courses that recruit Hong Kong students, the years of experience they have gained should be considered when they get a pay increase. Currently, under the rules announced by the Education Bureau, there is no stipulation that the years of experience gained for teachers in the mainland cannot be counted. However, according to Annex 3 of the guidelines promulgated by the Education Bureau in 2025, teachers who have experience teaching overseas or on the mainland, their experiences may be considered on a case-by-case basis. So there are no laws stating that we do not recognize experiences gained by teachers in the mainland or overseas. So there are no such restrictions or limitation in our laws. It's just that we lack an institutionalized or normalized regime. So I suggest that the SAR government take the opportunity to review the salary guidelines as well as our local legislations. It should review the teacher registration system so that teachers who are registered in Hong Kong and have the experience in teaching Hong Kong students on the mainland, their experiences should be counted when their salary is being reviewed. I think this can be done very quickly, and also we'll see many advantages to this system because we will see better integrated development between Hong Kong and the GBA. Also, it will allow teachers from Hong Kong to expand their development opportunities so that they won't be restricted to opportunities in Hong Kong. As we all know, we're seeing a decline in birth rate in Hong Kong. In 2024 to 2030, primary one students, the population will drop from about 50,000 to 34,000. This is an irreversible trend. So we might as well help teachers expand their professional development opportunities. They should not be restricted to teaching in schools in Hong Kong. Instead, they should be allowed to teach in the GBA as well. When they are back to Hong Kong, their experiences should be counted as well. That way, we will be able to promote coordinated development of the education industries in Hong Kong and the GBA. I so submit. Mr. Ken Wong.